Leadership isn't just changing, it's evolving in ways we're only just beginning to imagine. And women, we're not playing this game anymore. We're the ones reshaping the entire field, building models, movements, and businesses that serve more than just a few. On the She Leads podcast, you'll hear real conversations with women who've broken through all kinds of barriers: revenue, identity, borders, and expectations. There's no sugarcoating here, just the truth, told by those who are living it. I'm Adrienne Garland, entrepreneur, strategist, educator, and creator of live experiences, gathering women leaders together for over a decade. And this is the She Leads podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the She Leads podcast. I'd like to kick off today's episode with a request. If you haven't done so already, before you listen into this episode, please pause and take just 2 minutes to give the show a 5-star rating and review. It's so important to share the journeys, wisdom, and lessons of women entrepreneurs and leaders that we feature here on the She Leads podcast. And the best way to do that is to rate, review, and share the show with anyone who's interested in seeing more leaders in this world. Thank you so much for helping to share our incredible show with more people. Now, I cannot wait to introduce you to my next guest. Her name is Julie Anderson. She's known as the Brain Lady, and she's a certified brain health professional and a sought-after international speaker and best-selling author with over 27 years of experience in the field of brain science. I'm so excited to welcome Julie to the She Leads podcast because she's spoken at the She Leads Live conference for 2 years to great fanfare. Everybody loves her energetic and actionable advice. Julie's worked with corporations, entrepreneurs, and individuals to improve communication, team building, leadership, conflict prevention, improved organizational culture, and business organization. Julie's speaking topics cover brain and mind health, entrepreneurship, career leadership, and women's concerns. That is why we are so excited to have Julie on the show today. Welcome to the She Leads podcast, Julie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here. I love it whenever I can play in Adrienne's sandbox.
Yeah. We have a lot of fun over here at She Leads. And our mission is to, help more women to get the visibility that, we all, I hope, believe that we deserve. And more on this podcast, we are focused on highlighting women's stories that have $1 million revenue in their striking zone. They're either building toward $1 million or they've gone past it, and having those conversations about what you can do to grow your business to that point and free up the capital that's required to do the good things in the world that women do when we have the resources. So I know that you do a lot of work with women that are in this area. And I know so much of business has got to do with mindset. So we're going to talk about all of that. But before we do, I want to introduce you to everybody and get to know you. So can you just talk a little bit about your origin story? How did you grow to become Brain Lady Julie Anderson?
Well, it's kind of funny because it was just this kind of, it just morphed over the years. When I started, I was actually studying, this was 30 years ago, and I was homeschooling my kids and I was studying myself for a degree in natural health. That was what I was passionate about. And in one of the required courses, so I made it 10 courses into the 12 that I needed for the bachelor's. And I got sidetracked because I got sidetracked with a course that was called on psychoneuroimmunology. And it's this big, long word that basically just means how your thoughts in your mind, right? Talking mindset, how the thoughts in your mind affect your neural chemistry, and then how that in turn affects your immune system. And what I was digesting was all this neuroscience, all this scientific data to prove that that is true. And I just was like, oh my gosh, what else can neuroscience show us about how the functioning of our mind and our brain can help us to either achieve more things, do more things, live happier lives, or hinder us from
Yes.
doing those very same things. So I just, from that point on, I just started grabbing every certification I could in those, anything that was connected to that field, and just really moved that into, in the beginning, I was homeschooling. And so I was sharing this information on a professional basis with other homeschoolers
Mm.
and other homeschooling families. And then that kind of went into entrepreneurship, where I started coaching and working with entrepreneurs, primarily women who needed, who had success within their reach, but something was stopping them and they didn't really know what. And it's like, okay, let's figure out where your brain strengths are and let's go. So then it went from that until now I do entrepreneur or women, as well as women executive coaching, and I work with corporates as well.
Mm. So good. I mean, I have a million things to ask you just about women entrepreneurs, some of the things that get in our way, and then this concept, or the reality really, that a very small percentage of women-owned businesses ever get past that $1 million mark. And I want to also make sure that we are very cognizant of the fact that there's a system out there that we are operating within. And so there is the mindset and the challenges that we face. That's a piece of the puzzle, but it's not everything. There's also a system that we're operating within. And just more and more of the reading that I'm doing and the things that I am interested in, I just want to make sure that we never put blame on women entrepreneurs for not achieving some of these milestones, because I think that that's what has
Mhm.
been done. Like there's something wrong with us. And
Yeah.
yeah, like let's shift the focus to the fact that there really is not something wrong with us. We're incredible, but there is
Mhm.
something wrong with the system that we're operating within. And that's the
Yeah.
reason that we experience so much challenge. And then with that said, there are certain, mindset shifts that we need to make. So, can you talk a little bit about, I mean, I have 30,000 things going on in my head at one time. I do know that with the eradication of DEI, there's fewer and fewer programs within corporate that are specifically
Mhm.
focused on helping women leaders to grow. So I guess, with that as the landscape or the backdrop, what is some of the work that you're actually doing with women leaders within corporations? And then we'll talk about women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think what I am finding, or I know what I am finding, what tends to pop up the most is women, and it's the makeup of our brain. It's the way our brains are functioned, or are designed or wired, right? Is we tend to spread ourselves too thin. And this even happens within, yep, raise your hand, everybody, preach it. We just tend to do too many things.
Mm,
And that can lead to micromanaging even within your own team in a corporate world. It can lead to really not delegating enough and thinking, "Oh, you know what? They're busy, they can't do it. I'll just do it."
mm,
Or, "I should," this is a big thing, "I should be able to handle all of this."
mhm,
And so this gets put in our, this is our own little voice in our head. We have to be careful. Our brain listens to everything that we're thinking in our
mm,
mind. So we have to be careful what we're telling it, right? And we have this thing where we're like, okay, I can do that. I can do that, or I can take on this additional thing. And that is kind of unique to women. Most men don't do that.
yeah.
Most men are like, my plate's full. I'm not going to take on anything else. Whereas women in the corporate world, as well as in the entrepreneur world, they just tend to do too much,
Mm,
and they take on and accept too many projects. And in doing so, they're not able to give 100% to each thing because there's just too many things. They can't. And then the negative voices start like, why can't I do this? Like, I see so and so doing it. So if they can do it, why can't I do it? Well, they don't know
mhm.
that so and so is falling apart every opening, drinking a bottle of wine every time they go home. Right.
Yeah.
It's like this. this thought process that just our minds work against our brains and against our ability to be
Mm,
as productive as we could be, because we just simply try to do too much. We do that everything all at once, right?
yeah.
And it's too much.
It's really funny. It makes so much sense, and I'm kind of honing in on what you said about our brains listen to everything, and I think that goes back to what I was talking about how society sort of places these expectations upon women that we should be able to do all of these things, and we should be able to do all of them, beautifully and expertly and quietly, and
Mhm.
uphold the world, allow others to do what they're going to do. We're the sweep up crew behind everyone. And so I think that that is part of the input into our brains, and why
Yeah,
we start to shame ourselves into a really bad pattern of behavior, because then it not only is in your brain, it seeps into your soul. And then you start to say,
yeah.
I'm a failure, or I can't do this, I can't handle it. And then that reinforces this programming. So am I kind of, explaining this
Absolutely. You become
correctly?
a Yeah, absolutely. You become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You really do, because when I say that your brain listens to what you're thinking, it's I like to use the illustration of buying a new car. Like, years back, I had my this is when my boys were little, and I wanted a Toyota Sequoia. I felt that was just like that was the car I wanted. Suburbans were too big. My husband wanted a Suburban. I'm like, "That's too big." So, this is what I wanted. And we finally get into the financial position where I can get there and I can do that. And we drive down a couple hours away from the house and we buy it. And I'm so excited because it's like, it's this color I've never seen before. And I'm so excited, and I get to drive it home, this 2-hour drive home, and I kid you not, the entire drive home, I had to have seen another dozen cars
Yeah.
exactly like that. And it's like,
Oh,
how did that happen? Did they just magically appear? No. All of a sudden, my brain was like, "This is something that's important. This is something I need to pay attention to," because now it was part of our life, right?
yeah.
And I saw it everywhere.
Mhm.
So it's a simple way to illustrate that this is what happens when we have positive or negative thoughts.
Yeah.
If we start thinking in our head, we're a failure, what's wrong with me? This is
Mhm.
such a common statement. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this better, or why can't I accomplish this?
Yes.
Well, now your brain begins to see every single thing in your life
Yes.
that is falling short of the mark that you placed on it. Not that other people placed on you, the mark you placed on it. Because
Mm.
that's what you're telling your brain to pay attention to. That's what you're telling your brain to look for.
Yeah.
So it's going to see it,
Yeah.
right? It's going to see the cookies that got a little burnt versus the 5 batches that were perfect
Yep.
and 1 batch was a little burnt. All it's going to pay attention to is the quote unquote failure of the 1 batch,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what you've programmed it to pay attention to.
Well, I have to say that I would eat even the burnt cookies.
Who cares? They're just a little crispy. Who cares?
Exactly. Oh my goodness. So,
Yeah.
I definitely want to talk about what we can do to shift that, so that we're not focused on, this almost self-fulfilling negative prophecy. And I
Mhm.
think what's hard, and I even do this myself, is that there are the statistics that are out there, right? So there's
Yeah.
sort of the truth, maybe, if you will. So even when I quote statistics about how women are not able to secure venture capital financing at the same rate, we don't grow businesses past $1 million at the same rate. There's so many barriers in our way. When I talk about that, I'm very conscious of the fact that that is a fact, and I would like to change it, but I don't see a ton of evidence in the positive to pull us out of talking about these statistics. And it's actually something that, even I, as the CEO of She Leads Media, that I'm trying to help women to accomplish their goals. The fact that we're even in this, bubble of we need to overcome the challenges is almost like a negative framing of
Yeah.
issue, and it goes against what I actually want to accomplish. So, not using me as an example unless you want to, but, I wonder how women can set themselves up for success starting with their mind and the things that they're focused on so that we can accomplish some of these, you know, grander goals that I know we have the capability to achieve.
Absolutely. One of it, I'm only going to use you as a small example because you said a word, one word, that if you could shift that word, it's going to make a difference in your programming, your internal programming. So you said, I'm trying to help women
Oh, yeah.
too, as opposed to the confidence behind, I am helping women too,
Love it.
right? Like your events are amazing. Like I said, I love playing in Adrienne's sandbox. Your this entire platform, it's incredible, and you're bringing resources, and you're opening up a discussion in things that used to be taboo,
Yes.
and you're in the process of discussing those things that are perhaps standing in the way or become challenges, and I put that in air quotes for a reason because again, it's a dialogue thing. It's a conversation thing. So you're bringing it to the fore. So you are helping women. So let me start there.
Okay.
Be very positive and very confident about the things that you are accomplishing as a woman for all of the listeners,
Yeah.
right? Always focus on that and start reframing. You hear a lot out there in the world of it became popular, I don't know, I want to say maybe a decade ago. My time could be off a little bit, the scarcity mindset versus the abundance mindset, right?
Yes.
And all of that. And what I like to do is say, let's talk about the biggest neuroscience piece. And it has to do with again, what you're telling your brain. Are you looking at a challenge, the challenge of not hitting $1 million as fast as men or not having the opportunities as men? Are you looking at it as a challenge or are you looking at it as an opportunity to change something?
Mhm.
The brain looks at it differently. This is a challenge that puts it into kind of a fight. Okay, this is a
Yes.
challenge. I got to step up to the challenge. I got to
Brace
sharpen my sword.
myself. Yeah, sharpen the sword.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm.
As opposed to, okay, so this is an opportunity to change the tide.
Mm.
This is an opportunity to do something different. This is an opportunity to break the mold.
Yeah.
So now your brain starts looking at it as, okay, how can we grab this opportunity as opposed to how can we defensively step up to the challenge? It
Mm.
seems like a small shift, but if you are telling yourself this every morning, like instead of going, I will rise to every challenge, which is what a lot of people have said is positive in thought, going, I will pay attention to and notice every opportunity that I can take advantage of.
Mm.
It's a slight switch, but it changes what the brain begins to focus on.
Yeah.
And then I bookend that with because I teach a mindfulness practice that's a little bit different than what a lot of people do, but it's very much focused on that rewiring of your thinking. It's very much focused on creating new neural pathways.
Yeah.
So then in the evening, what you're going to do is you're always going to do your gratitudes. You want your brain to be thinking very positively while you are sleeping. Whatever you think about the last thing before you go to bed is what your brain's going to resonate on while you're sleeping. That's just the way it works. So I always tell people, yes, you're going to write down your gratitudes, but I want you to make sure, or I should say, and I want you to make sure that at least one of those gratitudes, at least one of those celebrations is about you as an individual. And that's hard to do, right? I see
Yeah.
the grin on your face. Like that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
We are so quick to praise other people.
Yeah.
I'm so quick to say, "Oh my gosh, my husband, he just has this natural." My husband and my first like they have this amazing brains, natural intelligence. They can just problem solve anything and I'm not that smart, right?
Right.
Like it can be that I'm book smart, but I'm not that smart.
Yeah.
Well, hey, guess what? I've been studying for 30 years. I've got a lot of information in this brain and I'm putting it to good use, bringing it out into the world, sharing it, right? So you can start to see how just simply what we think of as maybe, well, I don't want to be too proud or I don't want to be too cocky,
Yeah.
we're actually sabotaging our own brain, our own success because we're telling our brain, stay under this ceiling.
Yeah.
Don't go above that. Don't sing your own praises. And I'm not saying that I want people to go out in the world and every time they network go, "Well, I did this and I did that." No, I'm saying you just wanna own it,
Yeah, not
right?
diminish yourself. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly, and that takes programming of the brain. So every evening, you're gonna say to yourself, "You know what? I accomplished this today." Instead of looking at and writing down all the things you didn't get done, and focusing on that, you're gonna just really hone in on those 1, 2, 3 things that you did and you did beautifully. I
Mm,
did this and I'm so proud of myself. I was able to check this thing off my list. I was able to do this or, I brought a positive contribution to the world today and I'm proud of myself for that.
yeah.
By doing things like this, now your brain is going, "Okay, tomorrow I am going to bring a positive contribution to the world again because I felt good about it."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's a brain wiring. You've got to train your brain what you want it to do, and it'll support you.
It's so interesting because I think that there had been a time in my life where I was programming my brain very much in the positive and the opportunity way, and I fell into this, almost like negative or fixed type of a mindset, and I found evidence outside of myself to reinforce some of those, negative thoughts. And it's funny because the results then followed. The results are
Absolutely.
definitely not what I want. And
Mhm.
yet, I keep falling back into these patterns and I almost feel like a different person. I say to myself oftentimes like, gosh, I did not used to be like this. I never stopped to question myself, and I was very successful. Maybe a little bit was being young and naive and not knowing the full scope of everything, but I definitely fell into like a negative space. And I don't think that I'm the only one that
Yeah.
this has happened to. So, it's
Mhm.
not like I've always been a negative person, but I definitely fell into a trap. So I guess the positive there is that because I used to think like that, I can easily think like that again.
Yes. Yes.
It's there.
Those it's there, and those are things people talk about retraining the brain and rewiring the brain, and you do that, right? We all do. We can do that totally. However, the you also have to remember that the initial wiring is still there.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to fall back into that easy pathway. A well-worn pathway
Mm,
is easy to step into,
yes.
right? It's easy to walk on in your thought process. So what I always tell people is you have to constantly work to create the most well-worn pathway, the pathway that you choose, that you
Mm,
want to have. I shouldn't say the pathway you choose, rather the pathway that you want to have, the
mm,
thought process that you want to have.
mm.
And it's a daily cognitive input because there are so many daily automated things that come
Yes.
at us that are giving us the negative input.
Yes.
Right? Every time you scroll through social media, every time, it's easy when you scroll through social media. It's easy for me when look at we were talking about my hair earlier, right? I cut it really short because it's gotten so thin post, in the next beautiful stage of my life.
Yes.
I'm embracing I am embracing a different look
Yes.
because my hair is different than it was before. So, right? But it's easy for me to kind of look at these and of course, Google hears me say that. So obviously, those are the ads that come up, with these women with this beautiful, long, flowing hair. And it's easy in the back of it's easy for me to just not even realize I'm thinking, I wish I had hair like that.
Yeah.
or reading that ad and going, "Oh, maybe I should buy that because it'll make my hair better."
Yeah.
My hair's not bad, it's just different,
You
right?
look
I have to
amazing. I
embrace
said that before
well,
we
thank
started.
you.
I love it. Yeah.
But see how easy it is? The point is it's so easy.
Yeah.
There's so many negatives. It's so easy for our brain to say things that are self-deprecating,
Yes.
or I should say our mind to think things that are self-deprecating that we don't even realize we're doing,
Yeah.
right? We don't even realize that when we're looking at that ad or when we're thinking, "Oh, I wish I looked like that."
Yeah.
Well, now your brain's going, well, you
You
don't look
don't.
like that because
Right.
you wished you were, so that means you don't. So that now connects with other doubts in your head, and now it becomes a negative.
Yeah.
So it's this constant that it's our brain is constantly programmed in the negative.
Yeah.
We have to consciously work at programming it in the positive. And there's a difference and this is all neuroscience based. And that's what I love about the advancements in neuroscience. There are so many amazing technical brain scanning machines now
Mm.
that, in the 70s, the early ones that came out, they were, the MRI machines, those types of things. They were all primarily used to discover or understand brain injuries or brain disorders.
Mhm.
Now they're able to actually watch the brain as we're thinking,
Mm.
not just as it's doing its automated, moving your hand and that kind of thing, but as you're actually thinking. So now we can go, oh, well, what if we think differently and then watch how the brain works differently?
Yeah.
And whether you're touching into the subregions or running the fight flight and not even realize you're doing it because it comes so automatic.
Wow.
Right? And it works so fast.
Yeah.
So now we have this neuroscience to say, well, if you do this, this, and this, because when we scan the brain, when you're doing this, this, and this, it reacts differently. It
Mm.
reacts in a very positive way. So let's do more of this positive thinking and reinforcement of positive messaging to ourselves and looking at these things that come up or these things in the world that are not fitting for our gender and go, we can change this. This is an opportunity to do something.
Mm.
Just because the statistics say this doesn't mean I can't be I can't break that statistical rule, right?
Right.
I can do something different. Yeah.
Hey, everyone. So, for years, I've been working with Dr. Kent and sending people in my network his way. He does so much impact work. What do I mean by that? Well, he helps people create books and podcasts and things like that. He even helps with this podcast behind the scenes. Dr. Kent is my thought partner. Anyone listening knows that we all need to do what we can to get our thoughts, opinions, and voices out into the world, and how important it is for women to invest in other women and for women to hire other women. I am all about that, and you all know that. But in this case, I think Dr. Kent is an exception. He's doing something really different via this new program that he's launched called the Genius Discovery Program. So he wants to work with people like me and like you who are impact driven. Dr. Kent has an intensive program that goes for a month. He also has a 3-month program where he figures out where you're headed with your brand, your business, your speaking, and your signature story as a thought leader. I've known Dr. Kent for a long time. So believe me when I say that he has a ton of experience working with people that are looking to make an impact but might not know exactly how to approach that. So if you're interested in talking to him, you can go directly to talktokent.com, or you can send me a DM on Instagram at She Leads Media, or just shoot me an email over at hello@sheleadsmedia.com. You know what's interesting too, as you're talking, it's making me think that as women move through our lives, there are many different, you know, things that we have to, contend with. And then when
Mhm.
women are, let's say, leveling up, I'll just use that word, leveling up. Let's say they're moving into $1 million business, they're moving into a senior leadership role. What or they're moving out of corporate into entrepreneurship, okay?
Yeah.
And all of these women that we're talking about are successful women. Okay. They're
Yeah.
intelligent, they've got the personality, they're incredible. What can they do in order to almost adopt the new identity? Because the idea of like what got you here won't necessarily get you there, but how do you shift your mindset and maybe your identity so that you can very easily or more easily move into that new position and continue to be successful?
I think there's a lot of it's controlling your thought process. It's well, first off, you have to have a healthy brain. So I'm just gonna say take care of your brain and body,
Okay,
right? And do the self-care as a business part of your business plan.
love
Part of
this.
your this becomes something that you are going to get up and you are going to work out at some point in time during the day. I prefer doing it first thing in the morning just because that's what I prefer doing. Just get it done. I don't care if you do it before you go to bed, right? You just got to do it. Get the exercise in. Neuroscience study says your brain is going to be healthier and you're going to have better cognition and better thinking process if you exercise.
Yep.
Hydration, good sleep. Sleep is number 1. Um this is another thing that falls on women's shoulders a lot of times. If
Yep.
there's kids that need to be taken care of or the house has to get cleaned and you're just like, I'm just going to stay up until the dishes are done. And that means that you're not getting to bed till 11 o'clock. Stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sleep first, because that's going to give you the mental and the cognitive energy the following day. So take care of yourself. You can throw in a medi pedi every now and then because
Yes.
just pampering every now and then, right? But really take care of the brain and body because when you do that, now you have a vessel that is going to meet the challenge or that's going to meet and be able to take advantage of those opportunities when they are presented,
Yeah.
right? So that's the first thing. And then really visualize what does this look like for me
Mm.
and clearly lay out in your brain, visualize yourself taking all of those steps. They've done brain scans on high performing athletes and high performing executives. And something that they have found is that as they've studied them and then scanned them, that individuals who are high performing, there are certain commonalities.
Mhm.
And one of those commonalities is clear cut visualization.
Mm.
And what I say by that is total embracing the visualization practice. In other words, okay, I can close my eyes and I can see myself standing on a stage in front of, you know, 10,000 people
Yep.
and they're all laughing and clapping, right? I can visualize that. Okay, I did my visualization. No, these athletes, we're talking about Michael Phelps, we're talking about LeBron James, we're talking about people that have hit the top pinnacle. They don't just do that. They deeply embrace it. They
Mm.
feel it
Mm.
in their muscles. They smell it in their they embrace every single sense. They even go so far as to think about what are some of the challenges, and I use that word because this is what they would do, right? What are some of the obstacles that might get in my way as I'm trying to make that 3-point throw or as I'm trying to swim faster than anybody else? Like what are the things, if what happens if I don't push off from the starting point fast enough or what happens if this other player jumps in front of me? And they visualize themselves moving around those scenarios
Yeah.
and successfully getting past them. So this is what we
Mm.
have to do is that same thing. How am
Mm.
I going to handle this conversation when this person comes up to me and says, "I don't think you're a right fit."
Right.
What am I gonna say? How am I gonna navigate that in a positive way? And really take the time to visualize every facet, embrace the touch, the feel, every sense that your body has, embrace it. It makes a difference on the brain scans because what they have found is when you do visualization this way, your brain will scan the same as when you're actually doing that activity.
My gosh.
Is that
Right.
fascinating?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, and I also have heard that this is why sometimes we are operating in a state of stress with the high cortisol, because while we're not actually in the stressful situation, we've put
Yeah.
our brains there. And so
Yes, it can
we're
work against
harming
us.
ourselves. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is
Yep.
fascinating because the speaking on stage and you can visualize yourself there. That is like you're saying, that's amazing, right? That's one aspect. It's like that's the highlight reel. All of the
Mhm.
things that it takes to get there also need to be visualized so that
Absolutely.
that speaking on stage in front of 10,000 people, it's almost in your brain like a logical progression to that
Yes.
point. Because otherwise, like, how
Yes.
do you go from sitting in this chair to speaking in front of 10,000 people if you don't do anything? Or if you don't even know
Exactly.
how to get there?
Exactly. Exactly. You have to visualize all the steps along the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's something since you mentioned that, not to go too far off, but I believe that's one of the reasons why a lot of entrepreneurial women are not as successful in the business as they potentially could be, or they stop short of those final is they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
They have the big picture of what it is that they want to accomplish, and that vision is amazing,
Yeah.
but they don't stop and ask themselves, how do I get from point A to point B? What are all of the mile markers that I have to hit? What do I need to learn? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to be introduced to?
Yeah.
What podcasts do I need to listen to that are going to give me that advice or give me those steps and expand my knowledge as to how do I, how do I get in front of a decision maker?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's important. You have to allow your brain to be trained on those. And sometimes it means controlling our big, beautiful vision and going, okay, wait a minute. I gotta figure out the steps it's gonna take to get there.
Yeah. And I think what's super interesting about this too is something that you said before. Well, number one, we don't have a lot of stories to read and, people to observe. Well, how did they do it? We see how men have done it, and then we try to replicate that, and then we realize, wait a minute, that doesn't work for us. It works for them. And then
Yeah.
we go out looking for, how does that work? And I don't think that it's that women aren't capable. It's just that we don't have enough evidence out in the world. And what you said before, I also think adds another layer to this is we think that we have to work harder, we have to be
Yeah.
perfect, and we have to do all of the things. So because that like
Do
quote
yep.
unquote feels natural to us. And that's the very thing that holds us back. I want to bring up one thing because I it blew my mind this morning. So I'm taking this class that is called Design Thinking and AI. And it is put on by a company called IDEO. I'm not sure if you know who they are, but they're, a big company that just helps other companies to come up with campaigns and new innovations and things like that. They're fascinating. Such smart people. Oh my goodness. And what a fun class. So we are basically using AI to help us to uh, like write storyboards or even create music for your brand. And we're looking at these different challenges, and we play a lot, and it's so much fun. And one of the instructors from IDEO is this really brilliant guy, David. And as he shares his screen with us, and he's furiously typing away, all these different things, and everything that he's typing, the words are spelled wrong. It's like fast and furious. It's kind of a
Yeah.
mess, and he puts it into AI, and it spits out all the stuff, and he does the next thing, and it's kind of messy, right? And that's not to say
Yeah.
anything negative. It's just is what it is. So then
Mhm.
there was a student today who she said that she would share her screen as we like went through certain prompts and everything, and she's copying and pasting the prompts into her AI, and some of the words are misspelled. There's a comma that is off here and there. She's going back, she's correcting it, making it perfect. And my mind was blown. I was like, I know we're not talking about this, but
Right.
look at the difference. David
Yep.
is furiously making mistakes and getting 10 times more output and results than the brilliant woman who is an executive at an amazing company who's perfecting how she's inputting into AI. And I was
Yeah.
like, there's a difference in the way that we
Mhm.
approach things right there.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
It was
Exactly.
mind blowing to me. And
The
then I
the
asked, like, do we have to, do when we were prompting with AI, do we have to be so perfectionist about it? And, the answer was no, you do not. You just have to make sure that you're not typing in like an incorrect word, but you can
Mhm.
misspell words. You don't need the syntax or the
Right.
grammar. You don't need
Grammar.
any of it. And
Yeah.
it's a huge message, I think, that is also part of the way that we approach things. Like, we think that we have to be perfect or at
Yeah.
least as close to it as we possibly can get so that we can get better output. And that's the stuff that also slows us down.
Totally. Totally. And again, it's a programming. Every single time those little things happen, your brain is getting reinforced
Yeah.
with that information
Yeah.
every single time. And
Yeah.
we don't realize we're doing it, right? But she's going back and in her brain, she's thinking, okay, I have to correct this, I have to correct this. So the mind is thinking, I got to correct this, I got to correct this. So the brain's thinking, okay, everything we do has to be right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that falls into other, other parts of our life.
Yeah. And then
And
and
it's
then
it's just it's
I have to also say that when, David was like furiously typing and misspell, I was getting anxious, like, oh my gosh, he's spelling this word wrong. He needs to go back and correct this. But meanwhile, his
yeah,
his result was incredible, you know, and
yeah,
like that is the thing that I feel like women need to do more of is observe what is kind of working. You don't have to be on one extreme or the other, but maybe
mhm,
experiment around with being less perfect and seeing it.
yeah,
And it's exactly what you said. It's that opportunity mindset. How do you see something and take a step in that direction instead of like, thinking that you have to have every single bit in order to take that step.
yeah, yeah. It can be messy and it can still change lives,
Yeah,
right?
and it should. We have to get so comfortable with being messy. And and
Yeah.
and, like,
Yep.
what is messy? And why is it
Yeah,
bad?
exactly. I think that again, that programming starts when you are just a child, a toddler,
Yep.
right? And it translates into everything, right? We want to in school, you're always shooting for the straight A's. Like
Yeah.
that's what you're programmed. And if you don't get an A, then it's a red pen. You get the C and it's a red pen, and you're not celebrated for the fact that you got 50% of the questions right.
Right.
You're criticized for the fact that you got 50% wrong. Right?
Right.
It's always that we literally are training all the little kids, and I'm not saying that we don't want that we want to have a bunch of people out there that can't spell, right? I'm not saying that, right? I'm saying the way that it's done could definitely, and that's a whole nother topic, but that's where the programming starts,
Yeah.
right? That's where all of that really gets into, that how we think and view everything that we do through our lives. And I remember my mentor, one of my early on, this goes back when I was in my 30s, one of the first courses I took was on the brain and innate giftedness. And it was by a brilliant woman, Dr. Arlene Taylor. She has she has two PhDs in a nursing. She's got all this stuff. But, anyways, she said that when she really embraced this information that she was then training us, she said, we don't, my husband and I, we don't make our bed anymore. We pull the comforter up. We've got a big comforter
Yep.
and we just pull it up and throw the pillows on there.
Yeah.
We don't worry that the sheet's right. We don't worry that it has a hospital corner or a military corner. Like, we don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be perfect
No.
because I'm just gonna lay in it again tonight.
Yeah.
But it's that little programming,
Yep.
and I'm not saying, you know, leave it on the floor. I'm just saying that it
Sure.
doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And when we start to embrace that and we start to train our brain, look, it doesn't have to be perfect,
Yeah.
is when we're able to go, "Oh, okay, this is an opportunity. I can do it. It's not gonna be perfect, but now you're not being challenged to make yourself perfect before you can take that opportunity. You're just going, I'm going to dive into this opportunity. And if it's not perfect, oh well, eventually it'll be close enough, right?
Yeah.
So it's retraining that entire dialogue and it's paying
Mm.
attention to that throughout the day. What's my dialogue like? What am I thinking?
Mm.
When you get frustrated throughout the day and you're kind of getting anxious or you're getting, stressed, stop and ask yourself, what is my internal dialogue doing right now?
Yeah.
What am I thinking about right now? And how is that thought process affecting the outcome that I'm trying to achieve?
Do you think that it is important to write that down so that at least you some way are signaling like I'm being conscious about this?
Absolutely. Especially if it's a chronic issue, right? If
Mm.
it's something that is you really need to work on it. Then I find because I want you to flip it. I want you to literally in that instant. So let's say um your thought is I'm on a deadline, I'm not getting my stuff done. So you write that down. That's what your entire internal dialogue is. What you want to do is again then flip that into a positive. I'm on a deadline. Look at how much I have gotten done.
Mm.
It's a simple shift and you're still looking at what you're accomplishing.
Yeah.
One is looking at the negative side of it
Yes.
versus one is going, okay, I've gotten a lot. I've gotten a lot accomplished. Now I'm just going to kind of organize the rest that I need to get accomplished
Right.
and we'll work on what's most important first. But when doing that
Mm.
switch and actually flipping that internal dialogue is so important because when you do that, there's such a power in words. Oh, another fascinating, so much fascinating brain scans, right? That one word will either activate the higher thinking or activate the fight flight.
What
One
is that
word has
word?
the power to do that. No,
What is the word?
words in
Yep.
general,
Positive
right?
versus yeah.
So when we use words like
I'm looking for the
love,
word.
yeah, love, loving kindness, reward, safety, security, winning. These
Mm.
words activate positive regions. They actually produce in the brain positive neurochemistry.
Mm.
Rewards like victory, success, those words actually release oxytocin in
Yep.
the brain. Dopamine is released with certain positive words. Whereas, and that activates when that happens, you've got this cerebral cortex that just fires. You've got your prefrontal cortex. It strengthens the motivational centers in the brain and opens up the PFC or the area of our brain that is responsible for higher thinking, for problem solving,
Mm.
for setting and achieving goals, right? It activates those regions. Whereas when the negative words become the primary thing, like, oh, I didn't get this done. What's wrong with me?
Mm.
Now you're shutting the prefrontal cortex down. It goes dead on a brain scan, and you're activating the amygdala and the subregions of the brain and kicking in the fight flight.
Oh my god.
You're kicking in the conserve withdraw, right? And
Yeah.
it's words can do that. Simple words can do that. Again, my mentor did this one thing. I will never forget this. She had an audience of about 100 people, and she had everybody say the word cancer audibly.
Mm.
And when they said it, it was on this low tone. It was like, "Oh, cancer." It's like with this
Mm.
negative tone, right? Then she went through because she also teaches a lot of positive health, right? She's
Mm.
very much into the organics and
Mm.
positive health. She goes through her presentation for 30 minutes of how the statistics shift
Mhm.
when you are a healthy person and you don't smoke and you don't overdrink and you do all these things. She does that, and at the end of her presentation, she goes, "Okay, I want everybody now, again, I want you to say the word cancer." And it's almost like everybody yelled it in
Really?
a very, like, a powerful way.
Right.
So it just that changing the thought process around it
Right.
from going to, "Ooh, 1 in every 3 people are gonna get cancer," to, "I have all kinds of things, all kinds of control in my life that's gonna reduce my risk of getting cancer."
Yeah.
So now that word
Mm.
doesn't engage the fight flight, right? It actually goes, "Oh, wait a minute, what am I doing in my life?" It opens the prefrontal cortex. What am I doing in my life that's going to help me to
So
not
good.
get this? So it's words, it's thoughts, it's powerful what that can do to the brain chemistry and which portions of the brain it activates.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And this all directly relates to women, $1 million businesses and beyond. When you get there, what do you think of next? Like, always know that that next thing is coming for you because it is, right? We have to put our brains in the space that this is normal. Normalize, right?
Yes.
Normalize getting to $1 million, normalize getting to 5, 10, $20 million, normalize selling companies, normalize being an expert in finance and having control over your financial life and being comfortable with numbers.
Mhm.
There's a whole new set of vocabulary that I really
Yeah.
believe that women need to embrace. So, Julie,
Yeah.
I feel like I took a look at the time and I cannot believe how much time has gone by, honestly. I feel like we have another like hour of conversation in us. So, I'm going to invite you back. But for
I'd love
right
it.
now, how can people get in touch with you? Because I do really believe that it requires someone to help point out where you might be getting in your own way. And I think that
Mhm.
working with you, and talking to you, discussing things with you can truly help. So, how can women get in touch? And how can anybody, not just women, how can anybody get in touch with you?
Yeah. My primary website is yourbestmindllc.com. So
Beautiful.
that's where you can read all about everything I do for corporates and entrepreneurs and the Brain and Happiness Project and all of that. So you can check me out there, or you can just shoot me an email at info@yourbestmindllc.com. And if
Beautiful.
you want to stay in touch with me on social, pretty much every platform, I'm Brain Lady Julie. And
Love
if
it.
you search Brain Lady Julie on Google, you're most likely going to find me. So
I love it. I love it. We'll put all of that in the show notes. And do you have any? I know that once in a while you do some courses. Do you have any coming up that we could join?
the next one will be in the fall. So I do my 6-week Change Your Mind, Control Your Brain. And that will be in September and October. We'll run through September and October. So if you're interested in that, shoot me that email, info@yourbestmindllc.com, and put in there the Change Your Mind, and we'll make sure that we notify you as soon as we're running it.
Beautiful. Well, this has been so much fun. It's always so much fun talking to you. And thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and your time with us all here today. I loved this conversation, and I'm speaking for everybody else that I'm sure that they loved it too. So thanks so much, Julie.
Oh, thank you so much. It was an honor. And like I said, I just love being with you, Adrienne. So thank you so much for having me on.
If this conversation moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently, please take a moment to leave a 5-star rating and review. It's not just about boosting the show, it's about amplifying the voices of women entrepreneurs who are leading with vision, building with purpose, and shaping what's next. We need more of these conversations in the world right now, don't you think? And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who matters to you, send this episode to them. If there's something on your mind about leadership, legacy, or what's next, I want to hear it. Head to sheleadsmedia.com/voice and leave a voice memo or note. Your insight might just help shape a future episode. Make sure to follow the show and come back next week for more conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Thank you so much for listening. This is the She Leads Podcast Network. is the She Leads Podcast Network.